just one of the leaves.
Which club?
The big one, the one with the hill coming off.
So you're an H. Good.
I think
I'd like to call to order.
Possibly.
I'd like to call to order the Town of McCandless regular business meeting for April 22nd, 2019. Invocation by Council Member Wilkowski.
I would like to share with Town Council and the people who are present here at Town Council's regular business meeting an atheist perspective on evangelization. His name is Penn Gillette of Penn and Teller fame. He says, and I quote, "I've always said that I don't respect people who don't evangelize. I don't respect that at all. If you believe that there's a heaven and hell, and people could be going to hell and not getting eternal life or whatever, and you think that it's really not worth telling people this because it would be socially awkward, and atheists who think that people shouldn't evangelize, just leave me alone, keep your religion to yourself. How much do you have to hate somebody to not evangelize? How much do you have to hate somebody to believe that everlasting life is possible and not tell them that? I mean, if I believe beyond a shadow of doubt that a truck was coming at you and you didn't believe it, that truck was bearing down on you, there is a certain point where I tackle you, and this is much more important than that." I would like to echo his comments on evangelization. St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta said, "Remember that if a person loves you, they will tell you the truth. If they tell you what you want to hear, they love themselves." Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of Council's regular business meeting of March the 25th, 2019?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the business meeting of March 25th, 2019. Are any questions or edits or additions from council? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the March business meeting, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 4 of the 2019 series?
So moved.
A resolution recognizing Tobias M. Kordick for over 35 years of dedicated service as town manager.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second motion.
Would you come up? Come forward. You may want to sit. This could take a while. This is resolution number 4 of 2019. A resolution honoring Tobias M. Kordick for his 35 years of tireless service to the town of McCandless as town manager. Whereas, as serving as a U.S. Naval officer and Naval Reserve officer, and as a borough manager of Selling Grove, PA, Tobias Kordick was appointed as town manager on January 1st, 1984, and continued in that role until April 7th, 2019. Whereas Mr. Kordick has dedicated his life to service to others and was an example of true servant leadership in the town throughout his tenure. He worked tirelessly to implement the policies set by the town council and oversee the daily operations of the town. Whereas Toby led the consolidation of 40-plus dispatch centers to regional ones to the Central County 911 Center, spearheaded the implementation of automated recycling, trash, and yard waste collection, and worked to create a revolving fund to sustain fire apparatus procurement, had a major role in the project setup, firefighters retention and recruitment program, and supported the firefighter physical program. He recognized the importance of stormwater management and worked diligently to be a leader in properly and creatively managing stormwater throughout the town and the various watersheds in the area. Whereas, over his tenure as the manager, much of his time revolved around the management of the growth of the town. Toby was instrumental in the development of the transportation district that resulted in the extension of Duncan Avenue, the widening of McKnight Road, and improved a number of intersections, implementation of the performance zoning development district that will have a lasting impact on the complexion of the town. Whereas Toby professionally interacted with other governmental agencies on behalf of the town in order to achieve the goals and desires of town council. In doing so, he developed an excellent rapport and communication with officials in Allegheny County, various departments and agencies of the Commonwealth, as well as across the country. Whereas Mr. Cordick didn't limit his service to the town of McCandless, he lent his knowledge and quiet means of leadership to various boards, associations, and agencies. His service included acting as past chair administrative committee, member of its stormwater management committee of the North Hills Council of Governments, chair, vice chair, and secretary of the Allegheny North Tax Collection District, chair of the Northwest 911 Administrative Committee from inception through merger with Allegheny County 911, chair and member since 1998 of the Municipal Risk Management Loss Control Committee, board member and secretary of Municipal Benefits Services Trust, past president, Association of the Pennsylvania Municipal Management, International City and County Management Association, host committee co-chair of the Pittsburgh 2007 International Conference, and whereas Toby Cordick is active in his church and choir and plans to remain so as well as volunteering in the community. Whereas Toby Cordick is a loving husband and father, a proud veteran, kind neighbor, and dedicated public official, and a true friend to many. Now, therefore, be it resolved that it is hereby resolved that Town Council extends its deepest appreciation to Tobias M. Cordick, Jr. for his more than 35 years of servant leadership to the town and the people that he loves. And as is the custom of the town, here is your clock.
I've been clocked.
And I don't have to ask if you want to say a few words, I'm sure you do.
Honestly, just
a few.
Just a few. You had to listen to all that already. It's amazing when you stay in one place for a long time, what befalls you and what you can try to help with. Thank you very much, Madam President and members of council. I don't have an Academy Award acceptance type of speech because, and I don't mean to play on words too much, but this was not an act, it was real. And council took a flyer on me in 1983. I was pretty young. I was 31, and I had the experience as council president Red, being in the Navy in a few years in Selinsgrove Borough, and had finished my master's in public administration because that's where I found myself wanting to be. I just felt the calling ever since I sat in my junior class at Penn State, and the local government prof started telling us about how local government could work, should work, might work, and I bought in wholesale. And I did try to give my all every day for the 35 plus years that I've been here. I am grateful to the council, to the council members who served before them here and gave me the chance to serve with them, to the employees who stood with me day in, day out to provide excellent, empathetic service, for the interaction with all the town boards and other boards and communities and all the committees and services, our fire service, so lovingly represented in the back of the room tonight. They are a lovable bunch. And I appreciate all you've done for me over the years. Brainstorming with legal and engineering advisors, and mostly having the opportunity to help you have a stable and consistent local government that you could rely upon and trust. I wish all of you the very best, and I know that you have a fine person in Bob Grimm, who is a professional and most capable person to take on the position of town manager. May God be with you all. Take care.
So there's been a motion and a second and a speech. All those in favor of adopting resolution number 4, recognizing the dedication of our previous town manager, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B, I would like to recognize, and I'm happy that we have so many of our emergency responders present, but I'd like to recognize, and if you are an emergency responder and you're not standing already, please do so, because we'd like to express, along with others, including the Salvation Army, the American Red Cross, the North Hills Community Outreach, McCandless Community Association, and the Treasure House Fashions, for their help with the April 10th, 2019 fire that occurred at the Durham Court Apartment Complex located at 9500 block of Babcock Boulevard. Thank you all. We appreciate you being here. Were there any other emergency responders that were here? Thank you all very much for your service.
For the emergency responders?
No. Move to approve the proclamation.
Move to approve the proclamation commending the 2 Levin Furniture delivery men who first noticed the fire and alerted 911 and proceeded to notify residents.
I second the motion.
There has been a motion and a second. Are there any questions from council? I believe Dan Newton, are you here? Would you please come forward? Dan and Brian were making some deliveries, and make sure I get this story straight, and they were driving past, for all of you who don't know this story, they were driving past the apartment complex, saw one of the balconies on fire, and didn't just say, look, there's a balcony on fire, let's get our deliveries. They stopped, they pulled the alarm, and they started pounding on people's doors to get them out of that building. So this is a proclamation that on Wednesday, April 10th, 2019, at approximately 9:28 a.m., the town of McCandless Fire and Rescue Services were alerted to a structure fire located at 9500 Babcock Boulevard, the Durham Court Apartments. Brian Saminsky, close, okay, and Dan Newton. Brian was not able to make this evening. I'm sorry. His supervisor, Matt, is going to come up and accept his proclamation. Reported that an exterior deck was on fire and spreading quickly into the apartment. Further, the 2 gentlemen alerted residents of the apartments to allow them to safely exit the building. Their actions kept residents of the apartments safe and limited the damage to the building. The town of McCandless always takes pride in acknowledging and recognizing individuals whose quick and decisive measures to rescue others in their time of distress. We applaud actions such as these of Brian and Dan that change the lives of our citizens to whom they encounter, especially with such rewarding results. This proclamation today, April the 22nd, 2019, by the town of McCandless, by Town Council. Thank you so much. There was a motion and a second. Are there any comments from council to approve the proclamation? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving this proclamation indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finance and Personnel Committee.
I move to approve checklisting number 4 dated March 7th, 2019 through April 3rd, totaling $1,275,642.13 as submitted to each member of council and posted on the bulletin board and town website.
Second.
There has been a motion and a second. This has been out for a couple of weeks. Are there any questions from council or any comments about the bills? Any comments from the citizens about the checklisting? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving checklist number 4 from March 7th, 2019 through April 3rd, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to adopt resolution number 5 of the 2019 series, a resolution establishing a technology advisory committee to the town council.
I second the motion.
There's been a motion and a second for resolution number 5 to establish a technology advisory committee. Are there any questions or comments from council? Are there any comments from citizens? Okay. All those in favor to adopt resolution number 5 of the 2019 series, establishing a technology advisory committee to town council, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move.
We will get that posted on the website. I'm sorry. We will get that posted on the website tomorrow morning for applications.
I move to adopt resolution number 6 of the 2019 series, a resolution amending resolution number 13 of 2017, authorizing the temporary investment of town funds and to make transfers of said deposited funds from and to accounts only in the name of and owned by the town of McCandless by town manager Robert T. Grimm.
Second.
There has been a motion and a second. This is a housekeeping item that has to be voted on by resolution to allow, to transfer from Toby to our new town manager. Any comments from council or questions? Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay, there's been a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 6 of the 2019 series, amending resolution 13, that it allows temporary investment of town funds and transfers of deposits and accounts only in the name of and owned by the town of McCandless by the town manager, Robert T. Grimm. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to adopt resolution number 7 of the 2019 series, a resolution being adopted naming Robert T. Grimm as the town of McCandless delegate and Judith M. Wagner as an alternate delegate to the Allegheny North Tax Collection Committee.
There's been a motion and a second to nominate our town manager as well as Ms. Wagner as delegates for the Allegheny North Tax Collection Committee. Are there any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Okay. Hearing none, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to adopt resolution number 8 of the 2019 series, a resolution declaring the town's intent to destroy non-permanent, obsolete public records in accordance with the schedules and procedures for disposition of records as set forth in the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Manual approved on July 16, 1993, and as amended.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. This is, has to be done by resolution. It's another housekeeping issue so that we can get rid of old records, and this is just shredding up these records. Any comments or questions from council? Okay. Comments or questions from the audience? Okay. Hearing none, there's a motion to adopt Resolution 8 of the 2019 series, declaring the town's intent to destroy non-permanent, obsolete public records in accordance with the schedules and procedures for disposition of records as set forth by the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Manual. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public Works Committee?
Move to award a contract to the National Gunite for Town Square Culvert Repair Project in the amount of $235,150, which is for the base price of the repairs to be made.
Second.
Okay. Are there any questions by council? Comments? Any questions or comments by anyone in the audience about this award of this contract? Okay, hearing none, there's been a motion and a second to award a contract to National Gunite for the Town Square Culvert Repair Project for the amount of $235,150, which is for the base price of repairs to be made. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to authorize the purchase price of a 10-ton dump truck body, central hydraulic system, snowplow and hitch from Stevenson Equipment, Inc., at a purchase price of $74,619 as per CoStar's contract number 0250-021. This equipment is for a truck chassis approved by Town Council on November 26, 2018.
Second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Are there any questions by council? This was part of the budget. We knew we were gonna need this. So this is just appropriating the money to it. Any questions by anyone in the audience? Hearing none, there's a motion to authorize the purchase of a 10-ton dump truck, central hydraulic system, snow plow, and hitch from Stevenson Equipment at the purchase price of $74,619 per CoStar contract. This equipment is for truck chassis approved by Town Council on November 26, 2018. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public Safety.
Move to adopt ordinance number 1486, an ordinance amending and restating Part 9, Title 1, Article 907 of the town's codified ordinances to regulate objects in the right-of-way, signs in the right-of-way, and to establish an enforcement procedure and penalties for violators.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. This is the objects in the right-of-way that we have been working to put together to hopefully cut down on obstruction and litter. So hopefully this will help with that. Any comments or questions by citizens? By council? Any citizens? Hearing none, move to adopt ordinance number 1486, an ordinance amending and restating Part 9, Title 1, Article 907 of the town's codified ordinances to regulate objects in the right-of-way, signs in the right-of-way, and to establish an enforcement procedure and penalties for violations. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to also thank Don Miller and Lynn Appman for helping out on fine-tuning this, so thank you for that. Zoning Committee.
Move to adopt ordinance number 1487, an ordinance amending Part 13 Planning
and zoning code of the codified ordinances of the town of McCandless that would modify development standards and add master plan regulations in order to provide greater flexibility in the use and development of the land in the C5 commercial residential district, and to allow personal care homes as a permitted use in the C5 commercial residential district. The C5 district consists of the former Trader Horn and Bailey sites and vacant land approximately 15 acres to the north of Blazer Drive.
I second the motion.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from citizens? This will be coming out of committee and coming to a public hearing either in May or June. So please stay up to date on that so you can come in and help us fine tune all of that.
Madam President, just to clarify, the public hearing on the zoning amendment we had, so this will actually,
The site plan I meant.
right, yeah.
The development.
And we don't know if that will be subject of a public hearing yet or not, because they have not submitted the application yet, but yes, correct, the development would follow this. Sorry, just wanted to clarify that.
No, thank you, I appreciate it.
Sure.
So this is a motion to adopt ordinance 1489, an ordinance amending part 13 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the codified ordinances of the town of McCandless that gives greater flexibility of the C5 commercial residential district to allow personal care homes. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President, I move to approve the preliminary and final approval of a subdivision lot consolidation application for Sheetz, Inc. for property located at 131 Montclair Avenue, 8500 Perry Highway, 8510 Perry Highway, 8518 Perry Highway, and 8600 Perry Highway, as per file number C170082002002VD1202, Sheets 1 and 2, prepared by GAI Consultants, dated March 18th, 2019.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the preliminary and final approval of the subdivision application for the Sheetz. Are there any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from citizens on the subdivision? All right, hearing none, move to approve the preliminary and final approval for a subdivision lot consolidation application for Sheetz, the property located at 131 Montclair, 8500 Perry Highway, 8510 Perry Highway, 8518 Perry Highway, 8600 Perry Highway. As per file 6170082000202VD1202, Sheets 1 and 2, prepared for the GIA Consultants, dated March 18th, 2019. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bruce, do you have a little presentation here?
We've had some relatively last-minute items that Sheetz had to address. They're trying to accommodate a lot of the comments that were made, and one of the remaining items that there's some discussion is the sidewalk proposed on the south side of Montclair Avenue. And what I've presented to council is a letter from Amco Transmissions, who's the owner of the property. And basically it says, well, they are not opposed to the Sheetz. In fact, they're in favor of the Sheetz. They cannot agree to the sidewalk on Montclair Avenue fronting my property, as its dimensions will materially and negatively impact the short and long-term operations of my Amco business. This sidewalk can be placed, in the opinion of our engineer, can be placed entirely within the right-of-way. So therefore, we would have every right to do so. If we could also make, if it doesn't, as it turns out, if it does not fit within the right-of-way, we can make some adjustments. For example, right now it's proposed as a 5-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot green space in between it. We could reduce that to a 4-foot sidewalk with a 1 foot if we needed to. If we don't need to, we won't do it. There's also a 3-to-1 slope required as the fill part of that sidewalk. We could reduce that to between 2 and 3-to-1 if need be. So with those in mind, and if it turns out that we can't do it, that gives us a third option. So we do have 3 options for that sidewalk on the south side of Montclair. Number 1 is that we don't require it. Now, we will still require the crosswalk that's been proposed. Under any circumstances, we'll require that. We will not require and do not want the speed table that was presented as a part of that by Mr. Wooster. That's also been reviewed by the town traffic engineer and has been approved with the signage package. So the first option is we do nothing with the south side sidewalk. We just don't even put it in. The second option is that we require it to be installed, but it is being installed entirely within the right-of-way, and that includes the grading, which would be required as part of this sidewalk. And the third option is if it does require grading onto the owner's property of Amco Transmission's property, that right-of-way would be the additional right-of-way required for that would be the subject of a condemnation act. So we do have 3 options. And David Mastrostefano is here. David, do you want to explain what you found when you went out to the site regarding the grading?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. My name is David Mastrostefano. I'm the in-house engineering permit manager for Sheetz. Since we don't have the projector, I did take some photographs of Montclair as well as the Amco property, and what I found was that right behind the existing curb of the southern curb of Montclair, from there into the Amco property is all paved with asphalt, and it slopes. There's a section of slope of eyeballing it greater than 5%. Where vehicles are parked, and then beyond there is a steeper section, which is part of his drive aisle. So Mr. Beatty said that the township engineer has reviewed the plans, the different modifications that the township may be willing to do with respect to dimensional items for the sidewalk, the green space, and things of that nature. And therefore, there would be an exercise in seeing if the town does vote for this to get that in there without encroaching upon the right-of-way of the Amco property. Now, I would ask that since all the water currently slopes toward the Amco, because everything from the curb line toward the building slopes that way, that any work done in the right-of-way behind the curb follow where water is always gone and be sloped in that direction. So that would be my only request. Now, we presented at the last workshop alternate layouts for that sidewalk, all of which meet township ordinance. The first one being we have the sidewalk coming down our side. We have the crosswalk across our one entrance, which is an in and a right out. There is a raised curb in between those in and out movements. There is signage to direct traffic as well as identify pedestrian crossings. And then the sidewalk leads down to the intersection of 19 and Montclair, where we are willing to put in a staging pad and even put up some protective bollards, as was brought up at the last meeting, and make that the bus stop. Alternatively, and then we would still do the crosswalk. And alternatively, even by doing that and putting the crosswalk in, the children can still utilize the south side of Montclair the way they do today. The crosswalk is there to get them to the south side, and then the material and the conditions of the behind the curb on the south side, it's still the same today as it will be tomorrow, and the kids can continue to go about getting to the school bus in that manner. So, we've got 2 alternatives here that are currently meet code. We would prefer to do everything on our side of the road. As Mr. Beatty had said, this would have an impact to the Amco operation, and we want to be good neighbors. Thank you.
The only thing that I wanted to sort of counter what David said, I'm not sure that we want to drain the water from the sidewalk onto the AMCO. I know David and I have had a discussion about that. I would, if we go with the sidewalk on the south side of Montclair, I would suggest that that be handled, the final design be mutually designed by both engineers, both the town engineer and Sheetz engineer. Draining, even though the water drains onto AMCO now, there may be an issue with us with requiring an alteration as part of the site plan, that there might be some liability by continuing drainage onto AMCO's property. So I'd like to have that mutually, that would have to be mutually designed.
So,
Yeah, before, if I could, before we jump into the motion, just so we're clear, I guess my first question, if I could get clarification from either Mr. Wodos or Mr. Master Stefano, the date of the latest revision, as the motion's written, is April 19th. Was there a final drawing submitted today, so that should be April 22nd?
There was no final drawing submitted.
Okay, so that April 19th is correct in the motion as written. Okay. And so when we're talking about, so what this is right now is the way it's written, it's a motion to approve the land development subject to various conditions. The fourth condition is the one that's most relevant to the discussion we just had, and as it's currently written, it essentially requires the sidewalk, and this would, as it's written, would require whether or not additional property must be acquired from the AMCO site or not. So the one option, whoever makes this motion will have that first option to do it, would be just to leave off 4. And if you would leave off condition number 4, that's essentially you saying, look, no southern sidewalk is required, it's only on the Sheetz side. If you decide that you want 4, but you do want the sidewalk on the AMCO side, but only to the extent that it can be constructed within the right-of-way, then you'd want to add a phrase at the end of 4 to that effect, only to the extent it can be constructed within the right-of-way, within the existing right-of-way. And then again, the third version would be as written, which is, hey, look, you got to put the sidewalk in, and if it ends up that the town has to take or acquire property from the AMCO in order to allow that process to occur, then we want that to happen. So you absolutely want the sidewalk at its full size under any circumstances. Does that make sense?
And that would become a right of eminent domain?
Correct. Or it could be by negotiation. I mean, there's a number of ways to acquire. It would be probably just a temporary construction easement that would be needed. So maybe there could be something worked out with the property owner, but you can see from the letter that it appears unlikely that the property owner is interested in cooperating with that because of the negative effect that it would allegedly have on his operation.
I would imagine he does not want to
I think that's
snowplow, clean up snows with the.
The ongoing maintenance, I even though it's not in the letter, wouldn't be another, responsibility of the property owner that isn't currently a responsibility of the property owner.
The third option that you said, who would pay for the construction and easement and
The property,
eminent domain action?
the acquisition of the property, unless the Sheetz would agree to participate in that, would be a cost borne by the town. And if Sheetz accepts, I mean, the thing is, if it does become an eminent domain action, you could be talking about legal fees that not only are incurred by the town, but also incurred that are reimbursable to the property owner in that kind of dispute. We'd also need to value, potentially with an appraiser, the value of the property that's being taken, even if it's just a temporary easement. So, it's difficult to predict exactly what that acquisition would entail if we couldn't come to some sort of negotiated solution. So there's some question marks if you would want to include this sidewalk at all costs, regardless of how we'd have to acquire it. It would be, I think probably simpler, obviously up to council, but simpler to just allow the sidewalk to be modified so that it could all be done within the existing right-of-way. That way you eliminate that additional cost, that additional process, that additional uncertainty, and you still have a sidewalk where you didn't have it before, if you even want a sidewalk on that southern side, which, that's up to council.
So we could just read it as is and.
If you if you want to do that last option where you're fitting it within the right-of-way, I would just suggest you add a phrase at the end, to the extent it can be constructed within the existing right-of-way, and that should cover it.
Gavin, I think what Steve just asked was, if we read it as is, means that there would be the potential for eminent domain.
Right, without that phrase. Without the phrase we just added, I would say.
Okay, right. So if you read it as is,
It would say at all costs,
Right.
we're having that sidewalk, correct?
is that
But
clear to everybody?
The additional only that can be constructed in the existing right-of-way.
Right. If we add that,
Then
Bus stop in on the
Would
then
be-
it's
okay.
basically option 2.
yes.
You're not talking about the 3-foot right away, are you? That we're required to keep our plants away from?
No. The right-of-way, there's a 50-foot
Yeah,
right-of-way there?
Okay, I understand what you're talking about.
But, yeah, so we still have right-of-way on the AMCO side.
Yeah.
And then they would be using it the way they have always used it.
Are there, can we hear discussion? Steve?
We were discussing, that Sheetz had initially or proposed an additional potential bus stop on their side of the street.
A
You know,
pad.
Right, a
with
pad where
barriers
they
that-
could sit with barriers, car-proof barriers.
He mentioned
Which is
that.
where the kids are now.
No, it's not where the kids are now.
Don't they
This
work
is, right now the kids are on the AMCO side.
Right, isn't that the side?
Right now,
stuff?
last time the Sheetz was here, they discussed possibly putting a second or another bus stop on their
On their
side.
side.
And I had said that if they were going to do that, I'd definitely want some sort of barrier to completely stop any cars if they happen to go off the road.
Yes, Councilman. Ryan Wotus. We did update the plan to address that concern that was raised, and we have shown a pad that it would actually be located on the Sheetz side or the northern side of Montclair with additional bollards that would now be installed as part of that as well. So that's on the updated plan that was submitted to the town.
Okay.
So they wouldn't have to go in that.
So they would have, ultimately, the children or the school district would have the option of locating the stop on the southern side of Montclair where the students currently wait for the bus, or they could alternatively relocate that to the northern side behind the protected bollards.
Well, if you put it on your side, they wouldn't have to walk up on the MCO side then.
That's correct. That's correct. They would be able to stay.
Right.
Yes,
But
the-
still have the crosswalk.
This would remain under either proposal. The only difference is that it would not include the installation of the sidewalk on the AMCO side or within the right-of-way. What's proposed on this one, though, is the sidewalk, the crosswalk here to a raised curb with an island, so they'd only be crossing one lane of traffic at any time, and then ultimately could proceed closer to Perry Highway to a proposed pad there with bollards to provide protection.
But that isn't where the bus stop is.
But it
Just
can
so
be
you
moved
know.
there.
Oh, I don't know. Was not
That's
our
not up-
understanding.
yeah, it's not-
They
it's not-
said that maybe it can, maybe it can't. So
Check
that's,
with the school.
But there's no reason why the kids can't use this other side without, as they've been using it for the past 50 years.
the southern side.
Right.
Right,
Which, all that means is they're just gonna use it the way they always have.
right.
Okay. Any other discussions before we do anything, or?
We ready for a motion?
Do you have anything else to say, or? Move to adopt resolution number 7 of the 2019 series of resolution be adopted naming, I'm in the wrong place completely. Been flipping back and forth, sorry. Move to approve the preliminary and final land development application of Sheetz Inc. for the plan titled Sheetz Store Number 115 Rebuild, located on 131 Montclair Avenue, 8500 Perry Highway, 8510 Perry Highway, 8518 Perry Highway, requested to be consolidated under the preliminary and the final subdivision lot consolidation plan submittal for Sheetz Inc. as per file number C 170082 -00-001-001-C-D1-001 pages 1 through 23, prepared by GAI Consultants, dated October 10th, 2017, with the latest revision date being April 19th, 2019. Contingent upon, 1, recording the land development site plan as directed by the town engineer with Allegheny County Office of the Recorder of Deeds. 2, a note being placed on the site plan that any regulatory warning or directional signs and markings to be installed as part of the Sheetz development are the responsibility of the property owner to maintain. 3, approval by PennDOT of a highway occupancy permit, HOP, associated with this land development, including approval of the addition of left turn lanes to Perry Highway, State Route 0019, and replacement of the traffic signal proposed by Sheetz Inc. as sufficient mitigation to support the request of Sheetz Inc. for the marginal level of service, LOS, waiver of PennDOT's standards entitled Policies and Procedures for the Transportation Impact Studies related to the highway occupancy permits.
I second the motion.
There's been a second and a motion. The motion and a second. Are there any comments?
I have a comment. In my opinion, this land development application of Sheetz should not have been filed now, since the zoning of 131 Montclair is currently in litigation. If the case is finally decided, that 131 Montclair is wrongly zoned, Sheetz will not be building this project. However, let me point out that in addition, the Planning Commission did not approve it on other grounds concerning the use of Montclair Avenue as an access to the fueling dispensing facility and/or convenience store. The residents of Montclair have brought up complaints of the use of Montclair Avenue as an access to the project. The most important being with regard to school children getting on and off the school bus, although there are others. At the zoning committee meeting of April 8th, 2019, just this month, I tried to see if, in addition to the signalized access at Perry Highway and what is currently an entrance to Superior Poles and a Comfort, if an alternative access could be built on Perry Highway. The access I wanted to use was the current access at 8510 Perry Highway, the property immediately south of the property on which Superior Poles is located. It is the middle property of the 3 properties on this project at front Perry Highway. This driveway is currently approximately 50 feet from where the signalized entrance to Sheetz will be. I looked at 2 other stations at front Perry Highway that have multiple entrances on Perry Highway. One, the BP station near Swickley Oakmont Road, about a mile south of the current Sheetz, and one north of Sheetz location at Perry Highway in Cumberland. Mr. Wooster, Sheetz's traffic expert, reiterated what he had said at the Planning Commission meeting, that PennDOT regulations would prohibit a driveway so close to a signalized entrance. The town's traffic engineer, Mr. Robert Getz of Trans Associates, backed him up further. Mr. Wooster said that the building an entrance closer to Montclair Avenue on Perry Highway, that area had a significant grade difference. So it seems it's either Montclair Avenue as a second access, or there will be no second access. At the conditional use application public hearing held on October 22nd, 2018, Mr. Wooster testified that the Sheetz project could be accommodated by one location, in other words, one entrance, one access. But he further said that the Montclair entrance is necessary from a site design, and he equated to having 2 doors in a house. He said, yes, you can have 1 door into a house, but it generally calls for 2. According to the Planning Commission's draft minutes for April 2nd, 2019, it reads that Mr. Wooster said, the second access is requested for circulation to provide 2 means of ingress and egress for emergency vehicles and for the convenience of customers. Yet the fire marshal of McKenna states fire trucks will enter and exit Perry Highway. Mr. Robert Getz, the town's traffic engineer, said on April 8th, 2019, that it's projected 10% of the traffic from the site will be from the Montclair entrance and exit. So It seems that at least fire trucks will not be utilizing the Montclair access, and that the bulk of the Sheetz customers will not be using a Montclair Avenue access. Therefore, while the second entrance may improve the traffic flow in concept, Sheetz can make it with just one access. The signalized access on Perry Highway near A Comfort. In my opinion, the Sheetz operation, if the protesters lose their substantial validity challenge and Sheetz is ultimately allowed to go in at Perry Highway and Montclair Avenue, will definitely have an adverse effect on Montclair Avenue as it would any residential street a convenience store was built in, especially one that ends in a dead end. Just think about that for a minute. If you live in an R1 or R2 district, which are 1 and 2 family dwellings, can you imagine finding out one day that the property across the street, or even in your neighborhood, that has been a residence for over 100 years is zoned C3 highway commercial, and that the purpose of a C3 district is to allow a variety of commercial uses along major highways? Let me just read from the Town of McCann's zoning code, section 1331.01, dealing with the purpose of a C3 highway commercial district. Quote, the purpose of a C3 district is primarily to recognize the existing pattern of commercial development along major highways, end quote. The dead-end street you consider residential is now, according to the zoning code, considered a major highway. That is what is happening to the residents of Montclair because of the zoning of 131 Montclair as a C3 highway commercial district. Now allowing Sheetz to build an access to its facility on Montclair Avenue will merely be adding to the hardship of the Montclair residents. The Sheetz operation will still thrive without the second access. I'm sure Montclair neighborhood will not. Montclair is just not a major highway.
Are there any other comments?
I think Mr. Wachowskis knows full well that in the 80s that was all highway commercial, and should have been changed. This should have been changed by the town when they already downgraded the commercial property owners' properties by making them RC. I'm not sure why this is still an issue. He also knows that if they were to lose in court, that none of this would be happening anyhow, whether we voted for this or not. He's been told this repeatedly, and he keeps bringing the same thing up over and over again.
I'm saying it's just so you know that not to have a second access. That's why I'm saying it.
They've already discussed that too.
Well, we haven't discussed it before a voting meeting.
They've already discussed why we wouldn't do that, or they wouldn't want to do that, or the state wouldn't want them to do that in other meetings.
Are you making?
Well, what are you saying that why I would want to know why the state doesn't want them to do it?
Because of the new rules, because you know that there's going to be people. I don't understand why you wouldn't want it, because we know for a fact that there are going to be people, unless we put a full-blown gate up across Montclair that the residents have to stop at every time, there are going to be people turning into Montclair, and you are creating a situation where those people now no longer have anywhere to go. You are creating the most dangerous situation you could possibly create at this intersection for the simple idea that possibly somebody isn't capable of seeing do not enter residents only and not making the left turn. It doesn't make any sense at all. It seems like it's just here simply to cause problems.
Are you proposing amendment to this to leave out the Montclair? Is that what's happening?
I mean,
What was
he just made his
He
comment.
wants to read.
Oh, it's just a
No,
comment.
I just
Okay.
made a comment.
All right, I'm just trying to make sure I know
Yeah.
what we're doing. Okay, any other comments from council? So it's my understanding that because you left out number 4, no sidewalk will be required at all on the southern side. Okay, comments from citizens?
Hi, I'm Jason Moots. I live at 160 Montclair. I would like to remind everybody sitting up there, especially Mr. Mertz and Mrs. Powers, last summer, the residents of Montclair Avenue were promised if the conditional use application was approved, you would protect us with these further hearings and make sure that we were listened to. It doesn't seem like you're listening to us right now. Twice, your planning board turned down this proposal. Not once, twice. These are people that you put into office who have expert opinions on how things should run. Why are you insisting that you know more than people that you placed on a board? They turned it down twice over the second entrance on Montclair, which Greg has already said, Sheetz themselves has said would function perfectly fine with this store without it. It says, and I quote, "There shall be no loading or offloading from a residential street." Well, I'm sorry, Montclair Avenue has 17 homes, it dead ends. It's 18 feet wide at the biggest portion of it. There's no yellow lines painted on it. There's no white lines painted on it. It is a residential street. Condition number 2, it says that if such access will not alter the character of the residential area. Like Greg also said, we're used to a residential home being across, or what was Zone C3, but used as a residential home. Putting the second access on it is going to bring cars into our neighborhood that we don't want and change the characteristics. There's going to be headlights coming out of these entrances and stuff at night into my neighbors' homes. The part that really gets me is condition number 4, that all access does not contribute to safety hazard. When you add the second entrance, it's going to be an emergency exit. People are going to bypass the light, which Sheetz is claiming will control and help traffic. Think logically about your own selves. If you can get out of a building or a shopping center or a gas station without sitting at a light, why would you not go out where there's no light? It's not going to be 10% of the cars. It's going to be a significant number more. What really makes me sick is that you just said that you don't want a sidewalk for our kids. If the sidewalk is only on the Sheetz side, our kids still have to cross over the in and out of the Sheetz property. Yeah, you're going to paint a sidewalk there, but let's also keep in mind, it's not the same as it is now, like you just said. There is significantly more people going into a Sheetz than into an Amco transmission or a Fitness. Amco, I don't think, even opens until 8 or 9 after the kids have already gone to school. Let's also keep in mind that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Montclair Avenue faces east. There's going to be sun glaring in drivers' eyes as they're turning into the Sheetz, with our kids possibly crossing through that sidewalk on the Sheetz side only. I know my neighbors have given you photos that I've taken of kids actually walking down the street in the middle of the street, not using the end or the shoulder, even though there's no sidewalk there. It's ludicrous to think that this is not going to cause a danger for our kids. So why did Sheetz insist that they want to go forward with this proposition after the planning board turned it down twice? Well, I believe it's an election year. I believe they're banking on you're supporting them due to Facebook gossip or big business constituents who have already altered your minds and made up your minds when really their votes have already been made up. You're not really listening to your citizens, the people that live here, the people that will be at our polling places come next month, telling our other neighbor voters in the different districts what I so lovingly refer to as the Montclair Avenue screw job. I'd like to also just say, you get a lot of people that you ask to volunteer on these planning boards, zoning boards, things of that nature. Why would you waste all these people's time, their expertise, when you don't listen to them anyway? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm Mike Gronsky, 136 Montclair Avenue. I sent all you guys an email on this. I don't know if you bothered reading it or not. I'm going to repeat the same thing here. There are 2 issues that run counter to our zoning ordinance, and I feel it's your duty to reject this plan. First, the entrance on Montclair is illegal according to the ordinance 1328.10. It says that they cannot have the access on our street, okay? If you may approve additional access, if you may approve additional access, that's the operative word, if those conditions are met. You will note that the default position is there is no access to your street. You do not need to even consider those 4 things. In fact, if you were smart, you wouldn't. You're sticking your neck out when you do that. Okay? The word may is permissive, according to 1311.04, Part A. The word is permissive, the word shall is mandatory. That's a may, it's not a shall. Okay? There's no hardness to Sheetz or benefit to the town by granting that access. Most recent edition of the Journal, North Journal, Chuck Worcester is attributed stating that about 10% of the traffic would go through there. That means during a peak hour, something like 200 cars are going to go through the light, and maybe 20 in Montclair. If you got 200, what's another 20? It's not going to be a hardship. They just want it because they want it. They designed this without consulting the laws. They designed it early in the year because, even though they had to be 1,500 feet from a gas station, okay? They don't pay attention to our laws at all when they design, and they should. You should make them. The nature of the Sheetz business is customers get in and out very quickly as possible. With school children and me and everybody else, there's an entrance on the right. If I'm leaving our street, there are people coming in as fast as possible from the north, getting up and going to make a left right in front of me. It's not just school kids, it's me, it's everybody else. And when you're facing in the morning in the east, the sun glare gets you. In the evening, going west, the sun glare gets you. That's a very dangerous situation there. Not to mention the weather, okay? People being in a hurry and weather and everything. You're taking our little teeny dead-end street and you're making a very dangerous situation out of it. And if you approve this, it's going to be on your head. It ain't going to be on mine. It's going to be on yours. Understand that. Secondly, the dumpster enclosure is not in the buildable area of the property, according to the zoning ordinance. Once again, referring to the definitions, a yard is a place where there cannot be a building. Okay? The C3 zoning district has side yards and rear yards of 100 feet. The dumpster enclosure qualifies as a building, an accessory building, according to 1311.04, Part 15. It's subordinate to and serves a principal structure or a principal use. Is subordinate in area, extent, and purpose to the principal structure or use, and is located on the same lot as the principal structure or use served, except as otherwise expressly authorized by the division of this code, and is customarily incidental to the principal structure or use. Okay? That means that it has to be 100 feet away from, 160 feet away from the street, because you have the right of way. It has to be 100 feet away from 137 Montclair Avenue. So if they want the dumpster, they have to stick it in the buildable area. That's what the law says. That's what it's supposed to be. Now, I understand there's a lot of pressure for you to twist around the interpretations of the law because you guys have this blind spot for Sheetz. I'm well aware of that. Okay? I know Sheetz PAC money might dry up. Todd Rowe would retaliate with his sign, and he'd be MFing you guys up and down. I understand that. We citizens, we never said a bad thing about you the entire time. Not the entire time. Okay? It's your job to protect us and apply these laws. I expect you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Rupp, and I live at 231 Montclair Avenue. I just have something little to say. We received the Journal North on Thursday, and there's a little thing here that says, this is for Sheetz, limiting outside dining in certain hours that would be determined at a later date. What do they mean determined at a later date? Shouldn't this all be taken care of now? What other things are they going to have that they will say determined at a later date if you go and vote today with them? That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other citizen comments?
Heather Hughes, Edward Road. I don't know too much about zoning, so bear with me on this, but I did go down the street in question And I was shocked, because when you first turn into it, there is a building, which I don't know whether it's that one that they're questioning. It looks like it's not been inhabited. There's another property next door, and I believe it's on the left. That looks like it's not inhabited. So I'm honestly thinking maybe these two buildings, if they are torn down, would be much better for that street, period. Another thing, how many children are we talking about that are at this bus stop between the hours of 7 and 8:45? Does anyone know that?
One's enough. Is it three? Is it three?
I'm in plans of adopting. I'll have another one.
But you know that you're going to be using a different bus stop.
Well, why I'm saying this, we live on Edward Road.
Right. Now, let's stay in order. I was
We
just
live
trying
on
to answer
Edward
her
Road.
question. At least three.
Right, so we live on Edward Road. When we first had the girls going into North Allegheny School, the bus stop was on Perrymont. I mean, they had common sense. They stood back. Well, it was finally decided quite a few years ago, the girls had gone through NA at this time, that they would pull them back from Perrymont, which I thought was brilliant. So, I mean, children, yes, they're going to be small for a while, but they're going to be walked to the school. Like I see many mums in our plan still walk their kids to the bus stop if they're questioning any cars coming down. So I think, I'm not sure about whether I want to do all that just because if you've got 3 children. I mean, yes, maybe you'll have more. I understand that too. But I do think the people that live on that street need to address these derelict-looking buildings. I think it's an eyesore.
Thank you for your comment. Is there? Hey, wait! Come on now.
It's the people that maybe own the houses.
Everyone can speak, but one at a time. Okay. Are there another citizen comment? This is your time to come up and speak now.
My name's Deborah Sagan, and I live on Parkland Drive. And I just wanted to make a brief comment regarding the sidewalk issue that was originally brought up at this discussion. I was on the implementable planning, I still am implementable planning commission, and I think that this is an opportunity to have a sidewalk on the south side, is that correct? On the AMCO side, and it can be adjusted as Mr. Robb indicated, and also the people from the Sheetz Corporation. So I think if we have this opportunity to put a sidewalk in for safety for the children, for people who are waiting for buses there, we should take this opportunity. Regardless, I don't know what the outcome is going to be with the Sheetz Corporation. However, in this one instance, please consider having another sidewalk for the safety of the kids and anybody who uses that area on Montclair, and to improve connectivity as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Craig Overspike, 170 Montclair. And I know, a lot of finger pointing here, but we don't have any control. You do over the homes, our people in that, the buildings on the corner. Everybody's saying, no, because they're shabby. Sheetz will come in and fix it and make it nice. But, you can't hold us accountable for how other people handle their property. I think that's unfair. And I think that's actually your job or a council job or something like that. But anyways, I'd just like to say, Sheetz has a viable location where they're at right now. They say they're giving us a light, whatever, for safety. They're required to give you that light. There's no way they'd be allowed to put that building up without putting that light in through PennDOT. So, what are you getting there? We're going from a C rating to a D rating, as they testified. And then we all went to grade school. Say C was okay, you kind of slid by. D wasn't so good. So how is that getting safer? You can put any kind of spin you want on it. But we're degrading that area, Another thing, too, is, that buildings, the southbound lanes, is going to capture all the southbound traffic. That's where you're going to get the most traffic pulling in there, just because it's on that side of the street. You know what I mean? It's human nature. Once you see a shortcut, even though it may not be a shortcut, you still take it because it's perceived a shortcut. You're cheating. It's human nature. So they're going to hit that first one. I don't see what the big deal is just cutting that exit out. They said they could do with it. Without it, well, what's the big deal? why are we stuck on it? That's it. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment. So I have a little procedural issue here, Mr. Solicitor. If we decided that Steve's motion does not include a sidewalk, if the majority of people said, no, we don't want this because we do want a sidewalk, and vote this down, then Sheetz comes with another proposal? How does that work?
You just make an immediate second motion.
Okay, all right, so what if we wanted to change the entrance? Then that's not in here.
That would have to be, again, just a separate motion. So I think, you want to take action on the motion that's on the table
Right,
after the
right.
comments are done. And so in your scenario, it gets voted down, then someone needs to make a motion with whatever conditions you feel are appropriate. So if it's eliminating the Montclair access, if it's adding the sidewalk, that would have to be done by the second
Okay, all right,
movement.
so that's something we can do here tonight. We don't have to wait for another proposal.
Correct.
Or you could amend this and add the sidewalks back if somebody wanted that. I'm just trying to make sure that we all understand what we have the capacity to do tonight.
Right. So the first round that's on the table now is the Montclair access stays in, no southern sidewalk, everything else as submitted in the last drawing.
Okay.
So if we want the southern sidewalk, then we're voting against this right now.
Or we could vote to amend this now, though, can't we? Can't you amend a motion now?
You could make a motion to amend it, but then you need a second to that, and then you need a majority to amend it. It's probably cleaner just to take a vote on the first motion and then vote
Leave
again.
it with
if it
number
doesn't
4 in
pass.
place.
Yeah, leave it in place then.
I disagree. I think if someone wants to offer an amendment to the motion, it should be done now, and we should vote on the amendment.
You can do that.
Well, do you want to make the amendment to add 4?
So can we amend it adding the sidewalk part and
Yes.
closing off the Montclair, put it all in there?
Yeah, I was just trying to keep it a little cleaner, but yeah, if someone can make a motion to amend the motion on the table.
It's already messy.
Right. And then you can amend it whoever makes the motion, however you deem
We can
fit.
just vote on it this
So
way.
I have to make a motion saying that I want to close the entrance on Montclair and add the sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay,
And
so
when you say add the sidewalk, you have to clarify as to whether you want it at all costs or just to be constructed within the right of way as it currently exists.
But what if we want the sidewalk but don't want the entrance closed? I mean, now,
Well, then
because we're pushing it
again,
together.
that's why I was suggesting it'd be cleaner to do it that way, but we can just kind of cobble together a bit of a Frankenstein, but we'll get there once we have a majority.
So we can vote on what we did. If that doesn't pass, we can vote on what we did plus adding 4 back in. If that doesn't pass,
That's
we
another
can
option.
vote on what we did.
Any council member right now has the ability to make a motion to amend the motion on the table procedurally.
So, Madam President, I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion to see where this thing's at. I'd like to amend the motion to include 4, install a sidewalk along a portion of the southern side of Montclair Avenue within the town right-of-way, including the proposed pad for school children, as mutually designed by the town and Sheetz, and to the extent possible to be constructed entirely within the existing easement.
Is there a second
I
to that
second it.
amendment? Okay, there is a motion and a second. Are there any council comments on the amendment? Adding the sidewalk to be constructed only in our right-of-way, which would be no eminent domain, no taking anything. As Bruce said, some things can be done, the green space can be, it doesn't have to be 5 foot, could be 4 foot. Comments from citizens on the sidewalk? Okay. There's been a motion, a second, to add the amendment, which is number 4, which includes construction of a sidewalk, and which includes a pad for the children, which is on the plan, and this would be, would have to be constructed within the existing right-of-way. Okay? Is that right? That's what we're saying? Okay. All those in favor indicate for this amendment, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, roll call vote.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4,
Aye.
Ward 5,
Nay.
Ward 6,
Nay.
Ward 7. Aye. Ward 1.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes 5-2?
Yes.
Okay. So now this motion that's before you has this sidewalk added to it within the existing right-of-way. Okay, so are there any other comments from council or citizens on the new, on this addition? Or not the addition, the whole thing, the amended motion?
Can we speak again if we already spoke on the last one, or we don't?
Well, it's already been, I thought it's already done deal.
Well, it's a new, I mean, it's
It's a new motion,
revised
yeah.
motion.
We'd
it's a
let
new
them
motion on
speak
the
again.
table, so,
Oh,
Then that means yes? Does that mean yes?
Yes, that means yes.
Yes.
Jason Moots, 160 Montclair. You heard from me multiple times. I'm just going to voice my opinion again. You know, we as residents on the street were promised you'd listen to us. We said we don't want the second entrance on Montclair. They said it can operate fine without the second entrance. Your planning board said we don't think that there should be a second entrance twice, but yet you're pushing for a second entrance on Montclair. I don't get it. I don't agree with it, and I would just like to speak my piece.
Thank you. Any more citizen comments?
Yeah, I can appreciate, Mike Lonsky, 136 Montclair. I can appreciate that you want to do something to make it safer for the school children, which indeed that would. But the net effect is still, it's going to be much more dangerous. You do realize that, even with that there. People, cars and people and everything, you're still going to have to go past that entrance that they put in there. Currently, Montclair gets, I don't know, what is it, 40, 50 cars a day? You're going to be talking 20, 30, 40, 50 cars an hour, okay? Which changes the character of the neighborhood, makes it really bad. So I think you guys made an awful mistake today. I really do. You have a blind spot for Sheetz, and I don't know why. Maybe one of you guys on the side can tell me whenever you get around to it, but I don't get it. They aren't that good of business. It's an all-night haven for drug addicts. It's got low-paying jobs. Okay, it attracts the worst among us. And nothing good ever happens after midnight. You know that. Why do you guys have such a soft spot for Sheetz? What good are they? That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, it's time to vote on this motion. Motion to approve the preliminary and final development application of Sheetz, Inc. for the plan titled Sheetz Store 150 Rebuild on Montclair, 131 Montclair, 8500 Perry Highway, 8510 Perry Highway, 8518 Perry Highway, requested to be consolidated on the preliminary and final subdivision plan submitted by Sheetz. Contingent upon recording of the land development site plan as directed by the town engineer, Allegheny County Office of Records and Deeds, and not being placed in the site plan that any regulatory warning or directional signs and markings will be installed as part of the Sheetz development are the responsibility of the property owner to maintain. Approval by the PennDOT of the highway occupancy permit associated with the land development, including approval of the addition of a left turn lane to Perry Highway, SR 0019, and the placement of a traffic signal proposed by Sheetz, Inc. as sufficient mitigation to support the request of the Sheetz, Inc. for the marginal level of service, waiver of PennDOT standard entitled Policies and Procedures for Transportation Impact Studies related to highway occupancy permits, install a sidewalk along the portion of the southern side of Montclair of the town right-of-way, including the proposed pad for children to be depicted on Sheetz. Do we have that number?
4. It must not have copied.
4. Oh. 4 of the plan submitted by Sheetz, only to be constructed in the construction in the existing right-of-way.
And mutually designed by the town and Sheetz.
Was that part of the motion that we?
It was. Mr.
Okay,
Chairman, so-
okay. Mutually, okay.
And it just for council's clarification, what that would would be the town engineer would have final approval of the design. Sheetz would still be the one who would propose it.
Okay. All right, so there's been a motion, a second, and discussion. All those in favor of approving this land development application indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call vote.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4,
Aye.
Ward 5,
Nay.
Ward 6,
Nay.
Ward 7,
Aye.
Ward 1.
Aye. The motion passes 5-2. Recreation and Cultural Committee meeting.
Move to authorize the policy and procedures for the McCandless Northern Allegheny Heritage Center fundraising and promotional activities prepared by the Fundraising, Development, and Promotional Committee. Unfinished business.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. The Heritage Committee has been working very hard on this policy and procedure for the Heritage Center to help promote more publicity as well as to do some fundraising for some of the costs. Any questions or comments from council?
I just would like to make a comment that the Heritage Center is working very hard on having at least one program a month that citizens can come to.
And we will have that on all of our media sites as well as on the town electronic calendar. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Any comments or questions by citizens? Okay, there's been a motion, a second, and discussion to authorize the policy and procedures for the McCandless North Allegheny Heritage Center fundraising promotional activities prepared by the Fundraising Development Promotional Committee. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business?
Madam President, I move to adopt Resolution Number 9 of the 2019 series, a resolution approving a municipal cooperation agreement with Allegheny County for drainage improvements and future maintenance on improved sections of Highland Road. Under this agreement, the town intends to install approximately 500 feet of storm pipe and 7 catch basins along Highland Road to collect and convey stormwater from Harmony Drive. Allegheny County is upgrading its drainage facilities downstream of those the town is installing and connecting to the county storm sewer system.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for resolution number 9 of the 2019 series. It's basically an agreement between Allegheny County and the town for stormwater and catch basins so that we can kind of work together and share some of those expenses. Any comments or questions from council members?
Madam President, just one comment. I'm sure that the citizens down there will be very excited to know that the governments are working together to protect them from future flooding.
I'm certain they will. Any comments from citizens? All right, hearing none, move to adopt resolution number 9, the 2019 series, a resolution approving a municipal cooperative agreement between Allegheny County for drainage improvements and future maintenance on improved sections of Highland Road. Under this agreement, the town intends to install approximately 500 feet of storm pipe and 7 catch basins along Highland Road to collect and convey stormwater from Harmony Drive. Allegheny County is upgrading its drainage facilities downstream from those of the town, is installing and connecting to the county storm sewer system. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is public comment. This is doesn't have to be related. This is one time in the meeting that you can make a comment on a non-agenda item. So if anyone would like to come up and make a comment, this is your time.
Paul Heckman, 380 Mohican Avenue. Before she left, Deanna Alfonsi asked me to come up because she had to leave and just thank the council for approving the Technology Advisory Committee. And I wholeheartedly agree with her that I think this is a very positive, as was the Environmental Advisory Committee, for a forward-thinking town to be implementing at times like this. I've been following the 5G for a while because I'm kind of like a technology person. And there's certain things about this that sound very, very good, and there's certain things about this that sound very, very frightening at times, much like the Teslas now that are catching fire. So sometimes technology has a way of getting a little off kilter from what their intentions were. So hopefully this will prove to be something very worthy for the town of McCandless to undertake so that we can keep all of our citizens both advanced and safe at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. There are lots of good ideas that are coming out of our comprehensive plan. This is just one of several that are coming out. Any other comments? All right, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.